Okay, let me.
Hey guys,
Hello, I'm Mary,
and I'm Morgan.
and today we're going to be talking about the most important chapter of Grendel, obviously the last one. And yeah, chapter 12, this is like the end of the book.
Yeah, this is also the chapter focuses on the sign of Pisces. Very exciting, but we'll get into that a little bit later. First, would you like to start off with the summary, Mary?
Of course. Actually, you can.
How kind of you. Within chapter 12, we can tell Grendel is finally reaching his like final point of insanity. He's extremely emotional and he's feeling like stress eating a little bit, you know what I mean? So he goes for his midnight snack like he usually does, and turns out everyone's sleeping. Dun dun dun. Dun. Very, very disappointing for Grendel, but then he realizes this gives him the upper hand and he gets to eat even more. Okay, so he gets this like tablecloth and ties it around his neck because, like I said, this man is insane at this point. Like he was a monster before, now he's just really relishing in that. Okay, he has his bib on so he doesn't get the blood on his fur, and he goes to eat this man and he does, but then the next man he tries to eat is actually Beowulf. And Mary, would you like to continue with that thought?
Yes. So basically, he realizes Beowulf and then reaches for his arm, and then like Beowulf gets the advantage and basically like boom, boom, boom attacks him. Boom, boom, boom. And then it turns out they weren't asleep at all, which is basically a plot twist, in my opinion. So then Beowulf has the advantage, and soon after, Grendel slips in blood, and once again, Beowulf is all like, yeah, I have the upper hand. And then at the end of the chapter, Grendel is at the cliff looking down, and he decides to just end it all and jump into the ocean. So, yeah.
Breaks our heart. And if you needed more of a visual, here it is. We can run through that one more time. Grendel is there and he's all monster like, and then he heads to the meat hall like he usually does. Boom. Turns out everyone's asleep, except not, because he just walked the prank and Beowulf is there to kill him. Then he slips in blood, which just goes down this spiral from there, and he finds himself at the ocean on the cliff's edge at the very end of the book. And like I promised, we are now going to talk about the zodiac signs. So, Mary, would you like to start with that?
Yes. So basically, chapter 12, as we said earlier, refers to Pisces, the fish, which is like kind of resembles a lot in this chapter. So basically, in this chapter, Grendel fights Beowulf and is defeated, obviously, and then thus his universe of one has temporarily become a universe of two, and then this duality ends by destroying him, which is like interesting because Pisces also relates to the number two and how it's connected as dualism. And you can also see that like the ocean is also a symbol because it's the one that he jumps in because he's kind of like over it. So yeah.
Yeah, kind of going over what Mary said a little bit, but uh, like we've mentioned before, Grendel's really emotional in this chapter, which really relates to Pisces, as Pisces is known to be a very emotional sign. And as well as there are many references to water within this chapter. Like we said, Grendel finds himself at the cliff's edge at the very end, about to go into the ocean. So, like the biggest body of water you could find. And Grendel is spiraling into insanity, and he's very emotionally transparent within this chapter, which we also think relates to Pisces. And we would like to share a very good, meaningful quote with you guys. Um, Within this chapter, Grendel says, I look down into the bottomless blackness, feeling the dark power moving in like an ocean current. Some monster inside me, deep sea wonder, dread night monarch astir in his cave.
Yeah. So basically, when he's talking about this bottomless blackness, it's kind of what he's like feeling inside, and he can't really handle it anymore since he's been defeated by his like great nemesis. So that's when he decides to jump into the ocean. And also, though, to relate back to Pisces and the fish, his mother earlier says to beware of the fish. And we think the fish is Beowulf not only because he can swim with like a fish's ability, but also he's the one who kills him at the end. And then it also like kind of foreshadows that she thinks that Grendel's going to die at the end. So yeah.
Very true, very true. So it's time to talk about heterolap, or how to read literature like a professor. Um, like we've been taught, there are many important things within literature, and some of those things are dinner and weather. I'll start off with dinner. So within Grendel, we see that the mead hall is usually a place to gather and eat and party, have the time of your life. But in this case, it's different, and that's exactly what How to Read Literature Like a Professor was telling us, is that our usual dinner scenes aren't just dinner scenes. They're very telling of each person within the story's characteristics and mannerisms, and if this goes off of what it usually is, what this means. So at this point, when we see that everyone's sleeping, we automatically, as readers, can tell something's up. And that's how dinner is seen within this chapter. Mary, would you like to continue with weather?
Yes. So basically, with weather and how to read literature like a professor, they talk about weather and how it's not just weather again, how dinner is not just dinner, and it's very dramatic. And you can see at the end of this chapter, well, throughout this whole chapter, actually, it's very dramatic. And Grendel is just like he wants to be a very dramatic person and look off to the cliff, and he's all like, "Should I do this?" And then he does, and it kind of connects to the water and the ocean, and also the Pisces sign, and how like the weather, and then it just all wraps up together at the very end. So yeah.
Yeah. Here's some images once again to visualize some family dinner and how it's typically supposed to go, some weather. Yeah.
Yeah.
So this has been our video, and you come to the very end, our conclusion.
Yeah.
Mary, would you like to say your last words?
Yes. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.
Goodbye.